Swama here. We are going to do another live. Well, I guess I'm doing a live. So, hey, what I want to talk about today was tracking. Now, here's the deal. When I say things like tracking, I think most people, this is where their eyes start to glaze over, where you're like, oh my gosh, tracking, right? But what I'm going to show you today is that tracking makes all the difference in the world. So if you are a business owner, if you are a marketer, what I would encourage you to do is listen, because this little graphic over to my left, well, actually, it's to my right on your screen, it shows the power of tracking. So this is the Google Analytics view of this November to last November. And this is for an e-commerce client of mine. And so what you'll see is that last year we started working together, and the company was really at kind of an early stage. It's a really cool product. It is a manufacturer selling directly to a customer. That's about all that I'll say. Getting the product off the ground, I think I joined his team, and I don't know if it's year 2 or year 3, but I want to compare that to what we just sold this last month. So $216,000. And that's a big difference. And I kind of want to walk you through how we did it. And basically what I'm telling you is it all comes down to tracking. And so what I'm going to do today in this live video is basically a couple things. One, I want to talk about what the benefits of UTMs. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this case right here of how we literally grew, $175,000 in basically from last year's Black Friday to this year's. And what we're going to do is I kind of want to break through the types, or how to understand what UTMs are. And then what I want to do is show you how to set them up in Facebook. And the call to action through this is if you want to use my UTM generator, by all means. So there's a link in the description that you can just grab this now. So if you are a business owner, if you're a marketer, this is where UTMs are going to be your best friend. So when it comes to growth marketing, I routinely say this, that there's the two most important components of growth marketing are your conversions and then your tracking. Your conversions are actually how you're making money or growing your business. In this case, it's purchases, but for my business, it's probably getting phone calls. For your business, it could be the same. If you're in SaaS, it could be starting a free trial. If you are a service-based business, maybe it's request a quote, get a demo, all of these things. So if you can create that endpoint in your funnel, then you can connect links to that endpoint. And the main difference that we had basically from last November until this November is we've just spent a ton of money, and we've done that very, very effectively. And the reason why is we can connect a click to a customer, so we know where to spend money. So I'll tell you where we're spending money. Right now, we're spending money on Facebook. We're spending money on Instagram. We're spending money on YouTube and on Google Search and on Google Shopping. They are all performing. And we have tracking components dialed into every single campaign, down to every single ad group, down to every single ad, down to every single split test, so that we know what is working and what is not. And that's how you get the results of that insane growth. And I can't wait to see what it's going to be like next year. And so what I want to do is just lay out this foundational understanding of what UTMs are and how you can leverage them in your own business. So you don't have to be in e-commerce. You can be a regular service-based business. This is the same method that I use to take a business in the service-based industry from $14 million in 1 year. We grew their business to $24 million. Why? It's because we can track our spending. That's the best part about all of this digital growth is like, I shouldn't say that is the best part. The best part is being able to talk to you right now. I see there's people watching. Hello. Thank you for joining us, by the way. But the best part about digital marketing, I should say, is you have this direct response marketing component built in. Now, here's the problem. If you just boost a post on Facebook, if you just set up Google Analytics or set up Google ads or YouTube ads or whatever, like this doesn't come connected. This doesn't come all baked in. You have to do some groundwork. And I show you literally how to do that in my free course. And it's in the link below. You have to set up these things called a conversion. And you set these up by, normally it's kind of done on a thank you page. So if you buy something online, the only way that you can get to that thank you page is if you buy something, if you purchase something. And so what you can do is you can take that that endpoint and kind of connect it all the way back to the original source. And that is what helps you grow. And so if you're a service-based industry, basically it's like this. If somebody reaches out to you on your website, if they request a demo, they schedule a call or something like this, you should redirect them to a thank you page. Now, you don't have to do that. You can use events. It's a little bit more technical. That's what most SaaS companies use. But for the majority of people running funnels, we're not going to get into events and stuff like that because it's a little bit too technical, and you just kind of want a bulletproof way of creating an endpoint. And this thank you page serves as that endpoint. And so when you create this endpoint, then all of a sudden you can start connecting the clicks that come and reach that endpoint. So if we're on Facebook, then we're going to use a UTM that shows like this click is coming from Facebook. If we're on Google Ads, we're going to show that. If you're doing organic content, like this client has great YouTube organic content. So how do we connect those clicks to customers? Well, we do it through UTMs, and we put it in the description. Like the key to really understanding what is going to move your business, it all comes down to tracking. And that's basically the biggest like problem that most folks have when it comes to online advertising. It's the attribution. If you know where your customers are coming from, then you'd spend more money there. Like Luke, a former client, I should say, when we first started working together, his team was spending 4 digits in a month in digital ads, maybe $2,000, $3,000. Now they're literally spending 6 figures a month on digital ads. Why? It's because they can track exactly what's going on. So what I want to do today is just give you the opportunity to learn about UTMs. Again, this is probably either the most boring thing that you've heard about, or it's one of the most exciting things. So here's what I do want to tell you. This will work for anyone. It'll work for anyone, regardless of what space you are in. You don't have to be an e-com. You don't have to be an app company. You don't have to be a SaaS company. You just need to have a website. And if you are sending in clicks to that website, whether they're organic, whether they come from YouTube, whether they come from personal posts, whether they come from email marketing, whether they come from blogs, you can connect that click all the way to the customer, and then that is going to give you insight. And so let's go ahead and kind of walk through how to create these UTMs. Now, if anytime you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. All right, here we go. Let me just read a couple of things. You mentioned Facebook. Can we apply this to Google search display as well? Absolutely, Joe. That's a great question. So yes, you can absolutely do this, and I will show you. Let's just start off with Facebook, because I think that's actually the easiest one. Now, here's the hard part with UTMs. It's technical to understand, but it's really, really simple if you just understand this framework. And that's why I created the course to just teach you how to do this. And the whole reason why I created the course, by the way, is because I want to do business with you. I want to get you so far so you're like, okay, Jason, I'm hungry, we're ready, we're prepared for growth. Like if you click the link below, you'll have access to a free course where I show you how to create a conversion in your Google Analytics on your website, and then I give you the generator that I use to track these clicks. Now, here's the deal. Joe's question is great. Can you use Facebook? Or you mentioned Facebook, but can we use this on Google and search and display as well? Yes, you can use this on any click that is coming to your website, so long as you distribute the click, I guess. So what I mean by that is like, so there is in this client, for example, there's a YouTube link in every single one of his descriptions that we created, and we nested it. We nested this UTM link into this bit.ly link. Stick with me here. And we can tell what organic video these folks are coming in through. So this does work with search and display, Joe. I would highly recommend, there's a tracking template actually that you can use for Google and display and YouTube. It's really, really handy, so you don't have to go in and manually create these. Now, that's what I kind of got. I was kind of going down that road before I hopped onto your question. So yes, you can use these in Google search and display. Now, the hard part about UTM tracking is like you have to create these manually, and that's how I kind of started off, and that's why I started off using software. I started using Google UTM builders, but ultimately I found the easiest way to do this was to just create my own spreadsheet. And there was a little function in there that I had learned, because there's a lot of different things involved in this kind of backstory. but I was trying to understand Python, and I was trying to understand how to write scripts. And I came across this function in Excel called concatenating. And so when you're in Excel and you're concatenating cells, you're basically saying, I want this cell, this cell, this cell, this cell, this cell, and kind of all put them together. And once I figured that out, I was just like, oh, I could use this idea to create UTMs. Now, this whole idea behind UTMs was put on me 4 years ago when I was working for a Japanese app company, or an app company based in Japan, I should say. And I didn't know at the time that you could actually connect clicks all the way down to the conversion. And then once I understood that you could do this, I was all in, right? Because as a consultant at the time, if I could prove my worth, then that made all the difference in the world, right? I used to be an elementary teacher. I didn't have to prove my worth, right? And I didn't. I can get into all of that. No, I won't get into any of that. But when you're out in the market, you have to prove your worth. You have to prove to business owners whether you are actually moving the needle or not. And so these UTMs are actually the backbone of kind of everything that I built my growth marketing on. So the downside about UTMs sometimes is that they're manual, but when you use Facebook and when you use Google Ads, there are templates baked into the system to make this super, super easy. And the first one that I want to show you is actually Facebook. So before I get there, I feel like it'd be best to just have this understanding of what UTMs are. So on the bottom of my screen now, basically there's 5 different layers that you can use when it comes to UTMs. What you're doing is you're sending in the source. So the source in this case, the example that I'm using is Facebook. So it's kind of thinking of where is the absolute top layer of where we're actually sending in these folks. Now, there is no 100% hard and fast way you have to use UTM structures this way. This is the way that it was taught to me. This is the way that I've always been using. This is the way that it's laid out in Google Analytics as well. So your UTM source could be your newsletter. It could be a blog post. It could be a partner blog post. It could be a Facebook. It could be Google. It could be LinkedIn. Then the next phase down is the UTM medium. That's where you start to say, okay, is this organic? Is this an ad? Because what you're trying to do in this back end, because you're going to find all this information in Google Analytics, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. What you're looking for is you're trying to identify what is your best source. So the client that I had, or the example that I had of this client prior to this screen, we're able to see what's coming in off of YouTube in a paid version, as well as YouTube in organic, right? You can see Facebook paid, Facebook organic. You get the idea here. So that's the key at the medium. But the UTM campaign is where things kind of get a little bit easier. So the campaign is literally going to be the name of the campaign that you're running in Facebook or in Google or wherever, in LinkedIn or on Twitter, right? That is the name of your campaign. Then you go down one more. That is the UTM content. That is your ad set in Facebook, or this would be your ad group in Google search, or just Google Ads in general. And then you've got your UTM term, and that is actually your the ad, or it could be the split level or the split test of each ad. And so the beautiful part about this is you actually have insight into about anything that you want. And there's no real way that you have to use these. You just have to be able to find the information. So the one thing that I want to show you next is how to set this up on Facebook. So for the longest time, I was creating Facebook ads without really knowing how to leverage this thing at the bottom of your screen. So when you're creating Facebook ads, you have your campaign, you have your ad set, and then you have your ad level. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom on your Facebook ads, it'll say something called build a URL, or a dynamic parameter, or something like that. And this is where you start to put in your UTMs. And this is a beautiful part about Facebook. Facebook has got this better than anybody else. So in this parameters, you're able to just pipe in what is the name, automatically it'll just dynamically pull in the name of the campaign. And I'm not sure if you're watching this on mobile, this is going to be a little bit I'm looking at this right here. There we go. That's going to just pull in your UTM, the campaign name into your UTMs. It's going to push it right through into Google Analytics. And then there's the ad set name, where you are going to pipe through. I need to think of a better way to do this. There we go. This one right here. That is going to be your ad set. And then down below that, you can actually add UTM term, and then you can actually add in placement. So imagine this. Imagine going into your Google Analytics and being able to understand which ad put on what placement is best. It'll say mobile feed. It'll say like right side or desktop right. Like, no, never mind. Like, no, everybody knows that you're not getting conversions from the Facebook right side placement. Okay, but you can understand everything there. Now here's a powerful example of how this works in real time. So a couple of months ago, I was working with a social media company based out of China, it's controversial to use their platform. I was working with a Grammy award-winning artist, and was working with a startup. And we were running a major funnel. And about halfway through, what we did, and we got about 100,000 opt-ins, by the way, in, I want to say, about 90 hours or so, probably closer to 48 hours. I wasn't in charge of running the ads. I was in charge of the architecture and making sure everything was piping in and giving feedback to everybody and making sure that we were capturing all the information, pixeling everything, and getting. My whole point, though, that I'm trying to get to is about halfway through this campaign, what I saw by looking into the data was I was able to see which ads were actually converting. Where was the money best being spent? So I could reach out to the agency and I said, hey, we need to turn up this audience. This audience isn't converting or anything like that. So that's the power of this, because all of a sudden you have insight into what is working and what is not. Like, digital marketing should not be a gut decision. You should be able to connect your clicks to customers and have your data right in front of you. And that's what we did. We made an update in the campaign. There was like a US campaign and a worldwide campaign, and there's other campaigns going on. And we could see what was working and what was not, what audiences were converting and what were not. Like, and the agency wasn't going to look at that because they can't see that. And the business wasn't going to look at that because most of the time people just don't know where to look. And all of a sudden you have this ability and this insight to look into this information, and just it makes it crystal clear what is working and what is not, because we had that conversion at the bottom of our funnel, so we could see what traffic was converting and what was not. So happy to talk more about that. So one other way to look at this, though, would be this. So there's basically 5 ways that you can pipe in information, 5 different layers. That's not the one that I want. Nor is that one. There we go. So this is the Google Analytics view. So how do you actually find this information in Google Analytics? I think that's the most important part, right? So you can send in information, which is great, but if you can't find it, then that doesn't do you any good. So basically there's 5 different layers of information that you can go in and dive into in your Google Analytics. And the first one is your source medium, that we just covered that. So you just go into your acquisition and then you click on source medium. If you want to know how your campaigns are performing, you need to go to acquisition, all traffic, and then campaigns. The next 2 are a little bit more difficult. You actually have to kind of click through around in Google Analytics. And I covered this, by the way, in the free coaching course that you have access to in the link. Click it, download it, absolutely free. And then what you'll see is you just need to dive in a little bit lower to the ad content. That's actually your ad set. And then you have the keyword, which is kind of weird, but that is actually the UTM term level in your Google Analytics. So if you do that, if you send in these UTMs, that is exactly where you're going to find all of this information. So if you're going into the lowest portion of your funnel, or lowest portion of your UTMs, you can literally see which ad is converting better than the other ones. If you've got 5 same ads and you're just kind of, the variable is your audiences, you'll be able to understand which of your audiences are actually working. So I'm going to go back to the original image that I put up, because I think this is the key that I'm getting at. Okay. And I'll just kind of reframe this for those who are watching now or just hopping in now. So on the left side of this image, you see the amount. So this is a client that I've been working with for now 1 year. We started in October of last year. Actually, we've been working together for about 13, 14 months. Last Black Friday, or the whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of that jazz, we did, or I should say the whole month of November, we did $41,000 in revenue. And this year we just pulled off 216,000. It's crazy. It's awesome. But I can go into the analytics and I can see what's from organic, what's from Facebook, what's from Google search, what is from YouTube paid, what is from YouTube organic. And that is the ability that we all have and that all marketers have, that Google, that Facebook, and all of these businesses have provided to you 100% free, by the way, that you can go ahead and make decisions based upon data. And that's when I know that tracking is not necessarily a super exciting thing to talk about unless you are talking about acquisition, unless you're talking about, well, if you're a business owner, it's money. It's money and it's revenue and profit. Like if you can make money by spending $1 over here and following it all the way through and know that it's going to net you 3 or 4 or 5, then why would you ever stop? And that's exactly the case here. So what we've done is we've continued to scale up every single month. So I asked my client, I was like, hey, are we trying to spend a certain amount? And the answer is like, no, we're just going to keep spending so long as it's profitable. And what's funny is we've broken the supply chain twice. He has had to move the manufacturing area 2 times because the orders just keep coming in. And that's awesome. Like that is the best compliment that I could ever get. It's like, hey, Jason, you broke my supply chain. It's like, all right, let's keep breaking it. Nobody's mad about that. And so one thing to understand is this just doesn't happen overnight. You can't just like scale this, right? We slowly scale this up month after month after month after month, looking and analyzing what is working and what is not. That's the insight that you have to be looking into. But once you do have that insight, then you have a choice. Do you sit on this information or do you act? And if you can act on the information and then you can spend more, and then the patterns, if they stay the same, then you know you're onto something. And then you can just start spending more money with assurance. And that's where things get really, really, really fun. And that is, I'm reading the comments here, and that's where that's where things start to get interesting. So, okay, I want to talk about Black Friday, which I've covered. Want to talk about UTMs, the UTM overview, Facebook, and then the course. So here's the deal, guys. I have a UTM generator. There's a lot of free UTM pieces out there. So UTMs are just these strings of characters that will come after your URL. And what you can start looking for actually is when you're clicking on ads or you're clicking through things, start looking at your browser bar to see if they're using UTMs. And most likely, like the businesses that are doing well are, but you'll find like not many businesses actually use this because it's a little bit beyond them. Not many marketing teams use this either because this is a little bit beyond marketers. You just have to work for like an app company based out of Japan, full of a bunch of MIT engineers who are like, hey, data is very important to us. Jason, can you figure this out? And once you learn how to figure that out, you realize it's super valuable to people. So there we are. Okay, I've covered Black Friday. I've covered how to create these UTMs. I've covered how to, let me put this back up so you have a better idea. How to think about these. This is another version, I guess you could think about, where there's a campaign source, medium, name, content. What you're doing is you're just sending in information in different layers and in different spots. So that's what a UTM would look like. You've got your URL up front and then this whole string of characters afterwards. That is actually placing data in unique spots in your Google Analytics. And once you know where to look, that's not only going to tell you how to differentiate like your ads of what ad is working, it's going to give you insight into, is it Google? Is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it Pinterest? Is it Twitter? Like, what is the thing that is actually moving the needle? So, and that is what really is the key to growth, in my opinion. Yes, you can do, there's other sources, but like in internet marketing, you can attach these links to about anything. And that's going to give you more insight than about anything else when it comes to online marketing. All right. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I don't know what else I can talk about as far as UTMs. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to get a little bit bored of UTMs. I shouldn't say that. That's not true. It's literally like, okay, so let me talk to you about this. Let me put this in a different perspective. As I mentioned, just about a couple minutes ago, most businesses do not know how to do this. If you are a marketer and you're watching this right now, if you've been thinking about getting into marketing, if you are a content marketer, right? I want you to understand this, because a couple years ago, about 3 years ago, I was a content marketer. So I worked for, like I said, this Japanese app company. I was good at creating content for them. I was just beginning to kind of dabble in Google ads. And I kind of had this understanding of Facebook ads. So I was good with creating content. Those are the people that I'm speaking to right now. If you're good with creating content, what I am going to tell you, I feel like could change your whole trajectory, because it changed mine. I was able to connect this content to what actually gained businesses growth. And that was really, really fun. That was impactful. That was insightful. Like, I could see that the ads are actually generating the most growth. The organic content was creating, this growth. So once I learned how to connect this content to the KPI that the business was desiring, whether it's acquisition or growth or whatever that is, then that gives you so much power to be able to say, hey, this content is working or this content is not. Now, where I see a lot of marketing agencies leave money on the table is simply this. Tons of marketers, tons of content marketers, creative agencies, all of that, they are phenomenal at creating good content, right? They're better at creating content. They don't have to go live on Facebook and all these other things, because they're good at creating these super valuable, engaging videos, right? But where they leave money on the table is this. They will say to their clients, hey, we ran this campaign for you and we got you this many likes and we got you this many views. Well, unfortunately, businesses don't necessarily care as much about views, clicks, all of that. What business owners want are sales, right? They want sales. And so if you can create a piece of content and then connect it all the way through to the conversion, which should be the piece that is actually growing the business, then that enables you to prove to a business owner that it is you moving the needle for that business. And that's the best part about that. That was a fundamental change that I could see. So again, at the very beginning of this, if you're just hopping in now, I said there was 2 absolutely essential keys to growth hacking or growth marketing. It's 1, setting up conversions. What is the one thing that it requires to grow your business? If you're a SaaS company, maybe it's downloads. Maybe it is free trials. If you are a coach like me, it is getting on the phone with people. If you are a service-based business, maybe it's request a quote. Once you identify what that one action is on your website, you create this thing called a conversion. And normally it's created through somebody opting in, their email, then they're redirected to a thank you page. What a UTM does is it connects that one first original click all the way down to that thank you page view. So if they saw that page view, if you're in a shopping cart and you saw that thank you page, that means you bought something. And that means that you can attribute that sale all the way back to the click that originated and then brought them in the funnel. So those are the 2 most important components to all of growth marketing in my case. It's kind of like this, what content rides on is what it should ride on, I should say, are these tracking mechanisms. Everything can ride on these tracking mechanisms. Now, you can do digital marketing without tracking, right? I think we've all heard like the example of, hey, how is your digital marketing working? And you're like, hey, it's working really well. 50% of it's working and 50% of it's not. And then you're like, well, I don't know what 50% is and what 50% isn't. And I think that's fair. I think that's everybody. But the whole point of today's video was to say, no, that doesn't have to be the case. So I think I'm going to wrap this up, because I think we've covered about everything that you can cover insofar as UTMs. If you have a question about UTMs, what I would suggest you to do is to write it in the comments below. What I will do is I will take a look at this video. So even if you're watching this live, thank you for watching this. I do dearly appreciate it. If you're watching this after I'm done going live, please just drop a comment. And what I'll do is I can create another video or a follow-up video on this. And again, I know that tracking is not necessarily the best and most exciting thing in the world, but honestly, like in the world of growth marketing, it is. It's so refreshing to be able to prove your efforts either to yourself, your team, or your clients. And if you can handle this this ability to do this, then it makes everything better. So I will finish with saying thank you for watching. If you're watching this recorded, go ahead and write your questions in the comments below. I would deeply appreciate that. If you're watching this on Facebook or on Instagram or on YouTube, on LinkedIn, go ahead and give it a like. I would appreciate that as well, or share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And then the last thing would be my audible call to action, which you should always be doing with your marketing. My audible call to action to you is sign up for my free course. I'm going to show you how to build these UTMs. I literally give you the generator that I use every single day. I created my UTM in the description with the generator that you now have access to. So download it. It's 90 minutes of understanding how to kind of think about all of this, how to build your website, how to get your pixel on your website, how to create a conversion in Google Analytics, and then how to create these UTMs. So I will finish with that. If you have any questions, then go ahead and drop them below. I do appreciate everybody who's chimed in today. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you for everybody else who has watched this, and I hope to catch you.